Before we get into today's show, let me tell you about the latest deal from Mike Lindell, MyPillow. Once again, the big box stores have canceled their orders simply because they don't agree with Mike Lindell's politics. They don't like it because he supports President Trump. Well, he's going to pass that savings on to you. No more middleman. And boy, does he have some great deals on the Giza Dream sheets and the Percal bed sheets. Listen to this. Giza Dream queen size, normally $139.98. Your wholesale price, $69.99 when you use promo code Joey. King size, only $79.99. The Percal queen size, normally $89.98. Your wholesale price, $29.98 when you use promo code Joey. Just call 1-800-893-4059 or go to MyPillow.com. Always use promo code Joey. Free shipping options available. This allotment's not going to last very long. When they're gone, they're gone. MyPillow.com, promo code Joey. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition Studios. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. Welcome in, grab that cup of coffee, and here's what we're going to talk about. Federal charges filed against Democrat Congresswoman LaMonica McIver following her confrontation with agents at an ICE facility. Remember this last week? We have the latest details on this continuing saga. A former Biden medical advisor says he probably had cancer at the beginning of his presidency, saying that Joe Biden did not develop the cancer after leaving the White House in January. The Trump administration has agreed to pay nearly $5 million to the family of Ashli Babbitt, the unarmed Air Force veteran who was fatally shot by a Capitol police officer during the January 6th riot. Andrew McKissick, chairman of the South Carolina Republican Party, joins us to respond to progress on President Donald Trump's big, beautiful bill and the pushback from a few GOP members of Congress, including South Carolina's Representative Ralph Norman.
I told you we'd be back.
And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free.
It's Joey Hudson.
I wanted to name it the Joey Hudson bill, but, they don't allow you to put names on bills. But I wanted to call it the Joey Hudson bill because I know that one's been near and dear to you for a number of years.
That's how it's done. Let your voice be heard.
And the truth shall set you free.
Here's Joey Hudson.
So out of New Jersey, breaking news yesterday. It's not another bridge scandal. It's a sitting Democrat congresswoman, Representative LaMonica McIver. We talked about her last week, who's just been charged by the acting U.S. attorney with assaulting law enforcement during a chaotic confrontation at an ICE detention facility in Newark, New Jersey. Remember this? Remember the images? A sitting member of Congress accused of interfering with federal agents in the line of duty, and it's all caught on a body cam. Now, of course, they deny it, or she denies it. Everyone who is involved there, including the mayor of Newark, denies it. Elena Abba is the acting U.S. attorney for the District of New Jersey, and boy, she's not messing around. She's pressing charges under Title 18, Section 111 for assaulting, impeding, and interfering with officers. Let me repeat that. Assaulting law enforcement, not jaywalking, not a parking ticket, felony charges. This isn't a game. McIver says it's political, of course, that she and other lawmakers were just conducting, quote, oversight. She even claims ICE created chaos just so they could charge her, I'm sure. Well, here's a news flash. Barging through security gates with protesters and ignoring direct orders from law enforcement, that's not oversight. It's a publicity stunt gone wrong. And remember, they weren't there with an appointment. They weren't there coordinating with DHS. No, they stormed the facility. They busted through the gates as an ICE transport bus was coming in. That's dangerous. It's disruptive. It's against the law, even if you are a United States congressman. Even DHS Secretary Kristi Noem weighed in, and she didn't mince words. She said, if you assault law enforcement, you will be prosecuted. Good for her. Now, here's where it gets kind of interesting. I mentioned the Newark mayor a minute ago, Ras Baraka, was also caught up in this crisis, this circus. He was arrested for trespassing. But guess what? The feds have dropped the charges against him. Why? Who knows? We'll probably learn eventually. Politics, most likely. Let's call it what it is. This is the whole thing is political. They gave Mayor Baraka a pass, but not McIver. And you know what? That's the right call, because at the end of the day, there's a huge difference between misguided optics and physically interfering with law enforcement. And folks, let me remind you, ICE was just doing its job. They're doing what President Trump has asked them to do, has tasked them to do. They're tasked with detaining and processing illegal immigrants, some of whom are dangerous, some of whom are violent criminals as we learn more about them. They don't need to be ambushed by elected officials looking for social media clout. And that's all this is about. This is making a statement. Representative McIver and the other Democrat members of the U.S. House of Representatives did not go to this ICE detention facility to help. When they say that they were there for oversight, they were not. What message are we sending if we let lawmakers use their positions to break the law and intimidate federal officers? Let's just reverse this. What if this was a group of Republican U.S. House of Representatives member? That political power gives you immunity? Is that what they're saying? That just because they're a U.S. congressperson, that they should have immunity from this type of thing? That if you're woke enough, you can storm a federal detention facility and then cry oppression when you get caught? And I'm sure they're claiming racism as well, because McIver's black. And by the way, this wasn't some misunderstanding. DHS says McIver shoved officers, and body cam footage shows it. She denied it initially. I guess after she saw the video, although she's claiming the video wasn't accurate. She's not asking questions or taking notes. She was interfering. And you can see it on the video. So let's just be crystal clear here. Again, if a Republican lawmaker had done this, CNN would have already have held 5-panel discussions. Nancy Pelosi would be holding a candlelight vigil somewhere, and the DOJ would have issued a multi-count indictment faster than you can say January 6th. And yet McIver's allies are out there claiming that they were the victims, that she's a victim here, saying ICE was the aggressor, saying oversight is under attack. No, the rule of law is under attack. Here's the reality. This is what happens when elected officials think they're activists instead of lawmakers. When they forget their oath to uphold the law and instead chase clout by playing protester in chief. They want to be on TikTok. They want to be on YouTube. They want to be on all the social media with some of their little cute videos. Representative McIver is now facing real criminal charges, as she should. Assaulting law enforcement isn't a photo op. It's a crime that the Democrats were so quick to apply to those who were in the Capitol building on January 6th. Right? As for Mayor Baraka, I guess he gets to walk. And even he had to admit in his statement that what McIver allegedly did crossed the line. But here's what really makes my blood boil, and it should yours as well. Representative McIver is now spinning this as some kind of persecution. Again, she's the victim. And I guarantee you the race card will be played continuously, as if she was the one wronged. Simply because I guess she thought that because she is a member of the U.S. House of Representatives, that the ICE agents were supposed to defer to her. They were supposed to stop doing their jobs and let this chaotic group of people just come right in. She says this is about silencing oversight. Lady, it's about accountability. You break the law, you face the consequences. That's what law and order looks like, right? That's what America is supposed to stand for. So to Alina Abba, thank you. Thank you, Madam U.S. Attorney. Thank you for standing up for our men and women in uniform, for enforcing the law no matter how loud the political noise gets, because it's going to get loud. I can promise you that. It will get loud. And by the way, coming off of National Police Week last week, as we showed our support of law enforcement, this is a time to also show support to ICE and to these federal law enforcement officers as well. Let them know that we support them, that Americans all around the country have their backs. Because it's tough on them as well. They're doing what their commander-in-chief, what the president has tasked them to do, but yet they're getting all this pushback, the criticism from the Democrats. And look, let's face it, the Democrats are very loud. As I said just a minute ago, the noise gets loud. And so if you happen to see an ICE agent, if you happen to see someone from immigrations, customs, a custom and border agent, let them know that we appreciate what they do. We appreciate the job they're doing in trying to clean up our country and trying to get some semblance of normalcy back. And we understand that it's going to be hard for the next few years until we're able to clean this mess up that Joe Biden allowed to happen. Buy them a cup of coffee, buy their lunch, buy their dinner. Let them know that we need them out there doing their job. Are you ready for this? I dropped over 30 pounds on the PhD weight loss plan. No Ozempic, no shots, no meds. Look, I refuse to rely on prescriptions for life, and you probably feel the same. Joey Hudson here. Here's what Big Pharma won't tell you. Your body already makes GLP-1. That's the hormone that fights hunger. PhD helps your body produce it naturally, faster, and without side effects. With PhD, there's no muscle loss, no rebound weight gain, and no cravings. Just real, lasting weight loss the natural way. Right now, get a free body scan and personalized metabolic assessment. It takes 5 minutes and shows what's really happening inside your body. You'll walk out knowing how to flip your fat-burning switch. No shots needed. Don't trade your health for a quick fix. You can do this without Big Pharma and without the drugs. Plus 15% off when you fully commit to your program and the PhD Get Results Guarantee. Call now 864-644-1900. Start today. Call 864-644-1900 or visit myphdweightloss.com. President Donald Trump says he'll attend a House Republican conference meeting later this morning as the party battles to keep advancing the reconciliation package that will fund the president's domestic policy agenda, according to reports. Now, as we discussed yesterday, 4 Republicans blocked the bill from advancing out of the House Budget Committee on Friday over the cost of the package and their objections to what was left in the bill, including Green New Deal subsidies that some Republicans are fighting to keep. Republicans, however, banded together, and they moved it out of committee late Sunday night. Friday's holdouts all voted present to allow passage, 17-16, as negotiations continue. One of the holdouts, Representative Chip Roy of Texas, said late Sunday night that he allowed passage out of respect for the GOP conference, Trump and the process, of course. But he added that the bill does not yet meet the moment. He said in a post on X, it gives us the opportunity to work together this week to get the job done in light of the fact our bond rating was dropped yet again due to historic fiscal mismanagement by both parties. Of course, Representative Ralph Norman was on the show yesterday. He's one of the holdouts as well. He's very clear on why he opposes the bill.
So what did I object to? Well, able-bodied Americans who choose not to work are included in Medicaid payments. Along with the able-bodied Americans, illegals are on the dole to get a government paycheck. I'm sorry, if you're not an American citizen, you do not need to get a federal government check, whether it's Medicaid or any of the other 20 agencies that give away our tax money. I will say this too, Joey, I'm not just so rigid. Let's say if they come up with a compromise. Let's say they want to pay the illegals and the able-bodied Americans for a year. I would look at that. But on the subsidies, it's like opening the dam up on money again that we don't have. That people ought to be, the private sector ought to be doing it. They don't need the government help. And I'm just tired of continuing to say we're fiscally conservative, which we all campaign on, and don't back it up. Yeah. And now's the time to back it up.
And he has a point, doesn't he? You know, he's really taking the heat by a lot of people saying, "Oh, Ralph Norman doesn't support the president. Ralph Norman is fighting against President Trump's agenda." No, Ralph Norman is doing what the people of the 5th District of South Carolina sent him to Washington to do. Do you want illegals having Medicaid benefits? Don't you think it's time for, as they're saying, able-bodied adults, people who are capable of working, don't you think it's time that they work in exchange for Medicaid? And what about all these EV tax credits? Do you want to supplement the electric vehicle manufacturers for something that Joe Biden would have loved to have made it mandatory for you and me to buy an electric vehicle in just a few years? No, I don't think you want any of that. And that's what Ralph Norman, Chip Roy, and the two other members of the two others who are holding out, that's all they want. Now, the House Rules Committee now has the bill. It's expected to work on changes this week. The idea is to have a vote sometime before they leave for Memorial Weekend. President Trump will be on hand, we're told, later this morning to try to stoke support of the bill as Republicans are haggling over the sticking points of the package. Again, more spending cuts for conservatives, Medicaid work requirements kicking in sooner. You know, the bill right now does have work requirements, but they don't take effect until like 7, 8, 9 years later. Why not, if it's good for 7, 8 years from now, why not just go ahead and start it right now? If we know that that's what the right thing to do is to require people who are receiving Medicaid benefits to actually work, to be productive citizens, that should start right now. No reason to wait even a year. And, of course, some of the other sticking points, the state and local tax or SALT relief for blue state Republicans. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt told reporters yesterday, as this was a hot topic, she said over the weekend the president was in direct conversation and communication with the Speaker of the House. He's been very involved. He always is. He's willing to pick up the phone when he is asked to, so he'll continue to be very engaged in this process with both House members and his friends on the Senate side as well. By the way, Representative Norman is also a member of the House Rules Committee. So he's going to have an opportunity this week to try to get some of the things in this bill that he wants. President Donald Trump says he's confident in the White House doctors despite the possibility that they missed a prostate cancer diagnosis for former President Joe Biden while he was in the Oval Office. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt made the statement during a press briefing yesterday, saying that President Trump remains in good health. It started with Fox News White House correspondent Peter Doocy asking, White House doctors may have missed the early stages of his prostate cancer. So is President Trump worried about the quality of care that presidents get here? That's a valid question. Here's the exchange.
Peter.
Follow up on former President Biden. White House doctors may have missed the early stages of his prostate cancer. So is President Trump worried about the quality of care that presidents get here?
Not as far as President Trump is concerned. The White House physician we have here is phenomenal, and the team of physicians that take care of the president, particularly at Walter Reed Medical Center, are great. The president had his physical recently, as you know. He had perfect results. He's in very good shape. I think those of you who traveled to the Middle East with us last week can attest to the president's endurance. And by the way, I will add, we returned home from a very long and tiring trip last week, and on Saturday, where was the president? In the Oval Office working all day. He doesn't stop. He doesn't quit. He's in great health, and he trusts his physicians.
Speculation yesterday just literally exploded since Biden announced that he has stage 4 prostate cancer, a diagnosis that typically takes years to develop. Trump said he and First Lady Melania Trump were saddened to learn of Biden's diagnosis and wished him a fast and successful recovery in a post on social media yesterday. Trump wrote, "Melania and I are saddened. We extend our warmest and best wishes to Jill and the family. We wish Joe a fast and successful recovery." Ms. Leavitt told reporters that she does not believe Trump has spoken with Biden since the announcement, but she said that he would be open to speaking with the former president. Biden's office confirmed, of course, on Sunday that he was diagnosed with an aggressive form of prostate cancer. The team shared a statement. Last week, President Joe Biden was seen for a new finding of a prostate nodule after experiencing increasing urinary symptoms. On Friday, he was diagnosed with prostate cancer characterized by a Gleason score of 9, grade group 5. Now, again, since Joe Biden's announcement of his aggressive cancer on Sunday, there's been a lot of speculation on just how long the former president has had cancer and who helped Biden in hiding this from the American people. Former Biden COVID advisor and Obamacare architect Dr. Ezekiel Emanuel said yesterday that former President Joe Biden likely had cancer since the beginning of his presidency, if not before. Based on the advanced state of the cancer, Emanuel, an oncologist, told MSNBC's Morning Joe that Biden would most likely have had the cancer for more than several years. Now, host Joe Scarborough stopped him to clarify, saying, "So this is not speculation. If you have prostate cancer that has spread to the bone, then most certainly you're saying he had it when he was president of the United States." Here's the exchange.
That score is from 2, it's 2 up to 10, and he's at a 9. And that means that the cancer doesn't look normal. It looks very abnormal, which is probably why it's in the bone. And as you point out, Joe, it's been around for a very long time in President Biden years. Exactly how many, we don't know, obviously. And it is a little surprising to many of us oncologists that he wasn't diagnosed earlier.
Again, Zeke, you're an oncologist, obviously incredibly respected. You believe that it is likely, just for those just tuning in, you believe it is likely, if this prostate cancer has spread to the bone, that he could have had it for up to a decade, but certainly it's likely. Would it be fair to say it's likely to have had this for at least several years?
Oh, more than several years. You don't get prostate cancer.
So I just want to stop you. So this is not speculation. If you have prostate cancer that is spread to the bone, then he's most certainly, you were saying, had it when he was president of the United States.
Oh, yeah. He did not develop it in the last 100, 200 days. He had it while he was president. He probably had it at the start of his presidency in 2021. Yes, that I don't think there's any disagreement about that.
Wow. So just another secret that we're now learning that Joe Biden was hiding from the American people. I mean, I don't believe for one day that during his annual exams that they did not do a prostate test. I don't believe that. Cannot imagine that as thorough as the White House physicians should be, that Joe Biden was not put through a series of tests that would show what his prostate PSA is. And it's real easy, from what I'm told, to know when that starts being elevated, then you start checking even more frequently. But yet Joe Biden says, and still says, he could beat Donald Trump and should have beaten Donald Trump. He's convinced that he could spend another 4 years in the Oval Office. Your comments are welcome on the Firmin Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY. That's 864-477-5639. Emails always welcome, joey@joeyhudson.com. Had a great time yesterday playing in a charity tournament benefiting Switch, which is an organization in upstate South Carolina that is fighting sex trafficking. Did you realize, and I didn't until seeing some of the literature yesterday, Greenville, South Carolina is the #1 county in the state for sex trafficking. And all the folks who were out yesterday playing in the 2025 Freedom Golf Tournament are trying to help this organization raise the money they need in order to fight this and to put a stop to it. My buddy Oliver Lawless invited me to play and just had a great time. Look, it's always fun to be out on the golf course and playing around with some good friends. It's even better when it's benefiting such an organization like Switch. So go to switchsc.org if you'd like to find out about this wonderful organization and if you can help them out. On our text line, Jordan writes, hello, Joey. Regarding Biden's cancer diagnosis, I was looking at social media, and you could definitely tell who was who. Many people were stating MAGA conservative, but prayers for Biden, while many of the others were stating, why couldn't it be Trump that got cancer? They truly are despicable people. I'm praying for Biden, as I do for everyone, red or blue. We're all human, and it takes us all to make this country work. God bless everyone. And Jordan, you're right. We do. We need to pray for Joe Biden, for Jill Biden, and everyone that'll be on his caregiving team. I don't wish bad will on Joe Biden or Kamala Harris or any of the others. I just don't want them part of our government anymore, part of our nation's leaders. Tony says, Joey, if Ralph Norman voted against the bill, it's not a good bill. Well, you're right there, Tony. I have great respect for Ralph Norman, and I get it. Some of the House GOP leaders, they don't think this is the appropriate way to get this. But look, it looks like that Representative Norman and his colleagues who held out on this, they got the debate started, didn't they? They've got the idea of compromise started, the idea that, hey, we've got to stop Medicaid benefits going to illegals. They got President Trump going over to the Capitol today to lobby for passage, and I got to believe they're going to talk to him about some of the things they object to. So that's politics. It's how it works. Speaking of President Trump, his administration has agreed to pay nearly $5 million to the family of Ashli Babbitt. She, of course, the unarmed Air Force veteran who was fatally shot by a Capitol police officer during the January 6th riot. The only fatality of the Capitol of this protest on January the 6th. Now, yes, some others died, and the Democrats and the left always like to talk to you about those police officers, those Capitol police officers who died. Well, what? One had a heart attack. Ashli Babbitt is the only person who was killed as a result of the protest in the Capitol, period. The Justice Department, we're told, finalized the wrongful death settlement earlier this month, ending a legal battle that began after Babbitt's family sought $30 million in damages. Look, as they should. They should be compensated. She should be alive today. Babbitt was shot by Lieutenant Michael Byrd while attempting to breach the House Speaker's lobby, which she should not have been doing so, but she shouldn't have lost her life either. Byrd was cleared of any wrongdoing in 2021 following an internal investigation that deemed the shooting justified. I'll never understand that. You have an unarmed woman. All he had to do was have other officers on the other side of the wall contain her. He did not have to pull out his revolver. He did not have to shoot her. The payout has drawn some sharp criticism. Outgoing Capitol Police Chief Tom Manger blasted the settlement, saying that it undermines law enforcement. This sends a chilling message to officers nationwide, especially those who protect lawmakers, he said. Ashli's husband, Aaron Babbitt, brought the lawsuit, alleging that Byrd failed to de-escalate and that Ashli posed no threat. And she didn't. President Trump has long referred to Babbitt as a patriot and on Inauguration Day issued a sweeping pardon for more than 1,500 January 6 defendants. His administration has since removed prosecutors from Capitol riot cases and pushed for federal agencies to delete case records from public access. The settlement, not an admission of guilt, reignites the debate over police use of force, January 6 accountability, and the legacy of the riot that shook the nation. We'll see. The Trump administration is increasingly throwing criminal charges at illegal immigrants, bringing the full weight of the consequences on those who have come into our country illegally. Now they're defying our law. At the border, the rate of prosecutions for illegally entering the U.S., a misdemeanor, is up 4,500% from a year ago under Joe Biden. I mean, Biden wasn't prosecuting anybody. Felony cases against illegal immigrants who sneak back into the U.S. after they've been deported are up 140% over last year. Again, Joe Biden wasn't interested in this. In the Los Angeles area, which has a large population of illegal immigrants, federal prosecutors under Mr. Biden would go entire months without bringing a single illegal reentry case. Under President Trump, they're averaging 36 cases every single week. Bill Ashli, the U.S. Attorney in Los Angeles, said those prosecutions increased by 3,755%. That is crazy. Crazy good, that is. Mr. Ashli told the Washington Times, "We do not want criminals coming back to the United States of America. We want good immigrants. We want law-abiding immigrants. These are not those people." Illegal immigration is a tricky area of law, he said. It's treated mostly as a civil offense. The penalty for being in the country without authorization is to be deported. But jumping the border without permission is a misdemeanor, and sneaking back in across the border after being deported is a felony, and we have to start using our rule of law to enforce this. In the past, those charges have been used sporadically. Under Joe Biden, they just almost completely stopped because he didn't care. The Biden administration wanted these people in our country. They didn't care. Out of roughly 140,000 illegal immigrants apprehended by Border Patrol agents in March of 2024, just 911 were charged with illegal entry, or about 7 per 1,000 cases. That kind of shows you how seriously they took it. Your comments are welcome on the Firmin Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY. That's 864-477-5639. Emails always welcome, joey@joeyhudson.com. Speaking of the Firmin Ford text line, it's never been more important to support locally run businesses owned by people who actually live here in the upstate. Let me take a minute to talk with you about our friends at Firmin Ford. If you're looking for a new vehicle, maybe a great pre-owned vehicle, one you can trust, or maybe you're looking to order that special vehicle. Either way, if you want a new one, a brand new one, or a pre-owned that you can trust, the folks at Firmin Ford, they're there to help you. Their name is on the sign because their name is on the line, because every single transaction is important to them. Jim Firmin, Matthew Firmin. They do business the right way. When you stop by, when you give them a call, or maybe when you just send them a quick email, you're always going to have access to a member of the Firmin Ford family. And by the way, they also offer great service, and you're not going to have to wait weeks and weeks to get it done. And you do not have had to purchase your vehicle at Firmin Ford. Doesn't even have to be a Ford. They service all makes and models. Visit my friends at Firmin Ford online at firminford.com, firminford.com. On our guest line today, Chairman of the South Carolina Republican Party, Drew McKissick. Welcome, and how are you, sir?
I'm doing well this Monday morning, sir. How about you?
I am wonderful, ready to get into another week here for sure. A bit of excitement in the nation's capital. The House Budget Committee agreed to take the next step on President Trump's big, beautiful bill, if you will. Late last night, they were working late. I guess we'll have to pay them a little more. I don't know. But not without some fanfare. 4 conservative members on Friday refused to support the bill and voted present last night, let's talk about the bill first, your thoughts on the substance of the bill and where we're headed next, and then give us your thoughts on the four holdouts, which includes, of course, South Carolina Representative Ralph Norman.
Well, as far as the bill itself goes, I mean, so, no bill obviously is perfect, especially when they get this big. There's always something in there that somebody's not going to like, and especially out of hundreds of members of Congress or, much less just, our caucus. I would say where we are, though, is we're using the reconciliation process to try to get some stuff done, which means they're trying to use a process where they don't have to involve Democrats, particularly in the Senate. This means you can get whatever you're trying to get done here, which has to relate to essentially the budget, through the Senate without Democrats being able to filibuster. That's key because so much of the president's agenda is wrapped up into things that do touch on the budget and are things that otherwise Democrats would filibuster. So you've got a lot of what Donald Trump wants to do, the things that he said he was going to do, parts of his agenda that he ran on, which are tied up into this process of trying to get one bill through a reconciliation process and not have to worry about a Democrat filibuster. Now, inevitably, there's going to be things, though, that other members of Congress are going to want added on here, added on there, in exchange for them coming along and supporting the rest of the process. So these bills sometimes get turned into, as they refer to it, a Christmas tree. Everybody's got their own little present under the tree that they want. The problem we have right now is so much of, though, what the president has said he would do, what we took to voters last year, what voters voted on and supported, is tied up into making sure that we can get this bill passed. There's certainly things that you can look at and find and wish that we would, and at some point, do better. Spending cuts surely is a big part of that. I understand, the argument of budget hawks, absolutely, and which I sympathize more with than anyone else. On the other hand, you've got some members of the Republican caucus from places like California and New York and Northeast who are holding out to try to get the property tax deduction from, federal income tax rates.
Yeah.
In the first Trump administration, it was cut down to $10,000, which was fantastic because why should we be subsidizing expensive property taxes in the Northeast? If these folks are going to raise taxes so high, hey, you need to go elect some people who won't raise them that high. I'm not planning to get it deducted off your federal income tax and let the rest of the country subsidize it. They tried to get it raised to $60,000 or $80,000. They balked at a compromise of $30,000, which I thought was a little ridiculous. But anyway, somebody's going to lose in that proposition. It's going to be, budget hawks, or it's going to be that crowd, the property tax crowd. Don't know, but at the end of the day, this bill has to pass. For Republicans to be able to move Trump's agenda forward right now through this process, which won't involve Democrats, this is our only shot at this, it has to pass.
Yeah. With me today, Chairman of the South Carolina Republican Party, Drew McKissick. I had Representative Norman on my show, and we talked about this. And at one point, he had said to the Post and Courier, no bill is better than a bad bill. But he went on to explain to me that, there's a compromise in there somewhere, and that he certainly is not going to hold up the president's agenda. But one of his big sticking points, which I agree with, is the fact that they're illegals who are on Medicaid. They're able-bodied adults who could actually work who are on Medicaid. And the present bill, as I understand it, would eventually outlaw that, would not allow them to benefit from those from Medicaid. But it's 7, 8, 9 years down the road. And he said, hey, I'm up to doing something, but that needs to take effect in the next year. And which, I would bet that President Trump probably agrees with that.
Sure. And again, the problem is, a bill like this is so big where we could sit here and we could point to probably 100 different instances of things that make perfect sense, just like you pointed out, just like Ralph pointed out. And then I go back to the other end of the argument with some of this other crowd, related to the property tax issue I just pointed out. It ends up being a compromise. That is just the nature of it. And the problem is that, again, it's a budget reconciliation process that you have one shot at. You can essentially do this with, only, one time against the last year's budget, if you will. And then your opportunity is gone. Does that mean that anything that we would have liked to have done that doesn't get done in this bill is no longer a priority? No, not by any stretch of the imagination. And you can't get everything, as Rolling Stone says. You can't have everything you want because it's a process involving people, and that's just it. People who have their own, political agendas. They represent different constituencies. But at the end of the day, for Republicans, for Donald Trump's agenda, again, the things that we ran on, and you got to think about those voters out there and what they're expecting, their expectations, and as that relates to next year's midterm elections, for Donald Trump to be able to move forward on the things that he talked about in the election last year and how that's going to affect our prospects next year, this bill has to pass.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it puts Representative Norman in a difficult situation, and we talked about that. He supports the president, and in his words, he says it's time to stop the smoke and mirrors. If we're really going to be fiscal conservatives, we got to do that. But on the other hand, you have people, Trump supporters, who don't necessarily understand the details of the bill, and they're thinking, well, Representative Norman, he's trying to he's not supporting the president when he's actually doing what the president wants to do. But that's politics, isn't it?
Well, it is, and again, it goes back to the fact that it is such a huge bill. I mean, look, you know how big our government is. When you're talking about something that essentially funds everything that our government does, we can look in there and we can find stuff all day that we disagree with. We can agree at the end of the day that this process will overall move us in a better direction. But does that mean that we've got everything that we want out of it? Absolutely not.
Yeah. Drew McKissick, it's always a pleasure. Appreciate your time today, and we'll catch up again next week.
Yes, sir. Have a great one now. Thank you.
That's it for today's edition of Just the Truth. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss Studios. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. If you haven't joined my mailing list yet, visit my website, joeyhudson.com. Click on the Connect with Joey button so that you can receive our emails and the most up-to-date news. Also, join me on my YouTube channel. Be sure and like, comment, and subscribe. Just search for Joey Hudson. As always, thanks for spending a few minutes of your day with me. Do me a favor and forward this episode to a few friends. Just click on the share button and send to your contacts. We need to build an army of conservatives to win our country back, and we can do that by continuing to share the truth with our friends and family. Keep those comments coming via the Firmin Ford text line 864-477-JOEY. Email to joey@joeyhudson.com, and I love your messages on the MyPillow message line. Again, that's 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Be sure and take advantage of the MyPillow special, just $14.88 on the standard MyPillows when you use promo code Joey. Order online at mypillow.com or call 800-893-4053. We're back again tomorrow and hope you'll plan to join us. Until then, remember, God's got this. He's still in control.